Boy, it's been so long, I don't know how we greet anybody.
Are we back? Are we on?
We're back on the air.
Oh, hi.
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 Yeah.
Welcome back to the other UFO show. Dr. V and I are here, and I'm Dr. J, and we're here at our secure, undisclosed location.
That's right. Nobody knows where
It's
we're
on the
at.
corner of 22nd Avenue.
And we are less than 6 feet, but that's okay because we've been hunkering down in place.
Yeah, like that. Yep. Yeah. Social distancing depends on how you define social.
That's right.
We can be really social.
Yep. Only time we run out is in order to get beer.
Well, our emotional support beverages.
Oh, emotional support beverages.
Yes.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm taking your comedy pills.
But we've been, okay, the last time you saw us on the other UFO show, you probably fell asleep because it was just me being interviewed by Dr. V about a sighting I had back in 2016 in South Florida. But now he's back, so the show will be more interesting. And we've other than that, we've been away for a while because we've been dealing with this whole virus thing, which of course is all a vast chemtrail conspiracy. We'll get on that later.
Yeah. But right now, what we wanted to talk about was the alien technology that has helped our society and how that alien technology may benefit us during this time of the virus.
Just as soon as we get some alien technology.
Oh, you don't agree with that? We have alien technology that's being reverse engineered, as they call it?
Dr. V, give us a couple of examples of alien technology that has come into mainstream use.
Well, a lot of it's been just hidden by NASA.
See, NASA, again with the NASA. NASA always gets blamed.
I noticed that somebody had sent me a video of mysterious UFO following NASA, this International Space Station, on the NASA website. When I went to click on it, there was no longer any video. NASA probably had taken it down.
Well, I saw one on Facebook just last night. It had the NASA, National Aeronautics Space Administration. By the way, when Eisenhower created that in the late 50s, they were going to call it the National Space and Aeronautics. But at that point, not everyone was comfortable with the idea of spending a lot of money on space. So that's why it's National Aeronautics and Space Administration. I saw it last night on Facebook, so it has to be true. There was a NASA logo and it said NASA creates thunderstorms to mask the sound of battles in space. And when you stop and think about that, it makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense. We have all the way back through ancient history accounts of these great wars going on, from the biblical account of demons fighting with angels and the Hindu version of crafts in the sky shooting lights at each other and destroying each other, and great kings that would arise out of these masses of flying ships. And we have Thor, god of thunder, and god of this up there fighting and going on and battling in the Scandinavian culture. So it's only until modern day, if you think about it, since NASA has been around, that now we have all these great thunderstorms all over the place, and we no longer see these great big battles up there.
Except in the areas where it has prolonged drought, but that's another story.
And also, let's take into consideration that it was a thunderstorm that NASA probably invented that took down the Roswell flying saucer.
Well, okay, so there was no NASA back in 1947, but
Oh, but when did you say that they came around?
and there was no Area 51 back in 1947.
When did NASA come around?
1958.
58, so 47 to 58. They were thinking about it. Back then, they were probably known as the Weather Control Organization.
No, actually, it was civilian. It was an offshoot of a civilian group that had been around, NACA, which was National Aeronautics Something Administration. So they just changed the title and
I think
gave
it
it
was
a space
National
age.
Aeronautical Corona Association,
Mhm.
probably back then, and they just want us to know that.
Well,
But anyway,
we have plenty of Corona.
yeah.
It's right over there.
And then we have, the name escapes me, about one of the designers of the SR-71 that ended up
It's okay.
saying
My name escapes him sometimes.
that said that he had seen a UFO, and that inspired him to design that spy airplane. No comment.
Even though the plane they built looked nothing like a flying saucer.
Yeah, interestingly enough, he says he saw a cigar-shaped, UFO, and it certainly doesn't look cigar-shaped to me either. That's really about it on
No,
that.
I'm still waiting for a couple of examples of alien technology that we're using today. Was it like microwaves or, you know?
Well, a great example of what happens with alien technology is once they trade it with NASA for cows or people, they end up, they trickle a little bit of that technology into NASA, and they go, okay, try this, try that. And NASA then takes that information and uses it in our space program. One of the most exciting things that they have developed in our...
Please don't say Kevlar.
Oh, no, not going to say Kevlar. No, but it runs close. Is the adult diaper. The adult diaper. You wouldn't want to travel long distances through outer space without having that choice of using an adult diaper, so you don't have to get out of your control seat at all. And also, for us Earthlings, when we're taking off, it's like you're blowing your pants, man, because that's a rough ride. So to have them on is a great, wonderful thing, because you're not going to be able to stop when you're on your way to outer space and use the bathroom, are you? So really, that's a wonderful thing that alien technology has given us. How can that be used in today in the
Well, you can make
modern?
You can make a mask
issue
out
we
of
have?
it, for the.
Well, let's give that a try, shall we? I have to remove my spectacles so I can make a spectacle out of myself. It looks like that, there is a almost a design that would fit somebody with a head, but notice that the large openings here would be great for covering large gray alien black eyes. So, that might be the possibility. We're looking at most of the filtering would take place in this section. This is really just cloth, and though it might be breathable, you can see through it. So I'm pretty sure the microbes and viruses will get through that. So we're going to have to look at trying to somehow get that spot on there.
Go ahead now.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
so let's give that a try here. Let's see if we can, do something along that line. And wow, just look how quick that was to get that on your head. And really, does it look like I'm wearing a diaper on my head? Probably not. Probably not. Probably doesn't look a thing like a diaper on your head. So I think you're safe going out in society like this as well. I tell you what, I'm wearing a bandana and a mask. Very uncomfortable. This has some elastic built into it, so it's fitting snug. It's bunching up a little here underneath, The breathability is fantastic. I don't think there's going to be any viruses getting through that. If your runny poo don't leak through it, I'm pretty sure a virus is going to be all right there. So we really got to thank aliens for that technology.
See, here at the other UFO show, we stay up late nights staring in the ceiling because we can't thinking deep thoughts about. Thank you, aliens, for the depends, because we don't have antimatter warp drive.
No.
We don't have George Jetson things zipping around. We don't have a cure for cancer. But by God, we've got depends thanks to the aliens.
Depends to the aliens. Yep. One of the other great technologies that aliens have given us is, where is that? Oh my, I left it right over here. Duct tape.
The backbone of the Soviet space program.
Now, yeah, so duct tape, I'm not sure when it was invented, but it was probably a long time ago. And
By a Swiss chemist named Alfred P. Duct.
And the way that came about, he was Swiss, which, as you all know, is another country. However, NASA has for long been involved with other countries and helping to spread that technology. So when I first realized that this was space technology was when I seen an Alaska bush pilot pull it out and tape a wing to his airplane with it that had fallen off. And I said, yep, this stuff was made for more than just duct taping your ducts. Ducts, like air conditioning ducts. So how can this benefit us? Well, this might take a while. So what we would do is take, a strip at a time, lay it down like so. Not even sure you can see this on camera. We may have to reproduce this.
You're not missing much.
You want to put down a couple of strips as wide as you can. You know, tear off a piece about that wide. And now you have put together 3 or 4 pieces. I'm telling you what, this is a very quick mass application that you're going to put on your house.
Well, that's a definite improvement.
And then you want to, there's nothing getting through this. Are you going to translate for the people?
I just can't wait to yank it
There's
off.
nothing getting through this. Go ahead. Yank it off.
No,
Yank it off. Yank it off.
No, I don't want to lose my job here at the other UFO show.
Yank it off. Wow. Defoliates or whatever you call it. Oh no, not that. Exfoliates. Man.
Exfoliate.
It exfoliates too.
Defoliation. That's what we did in Vietnam.
Yeah, that was that.
No, not us personally.
Nothing was getting through that. Not even oxygen. So that's a great way.
Well, if you're having problems with your spouse and during lockdown, if you want to get rid of your abusive spouse.
We were getting to that point, you know, that there are certain people you may be in lockdown with, where you know at a certain time you may just want to put that on them. Oh, what else do we got going on with
Okay,
alien
so
technology?
I'm waiting for the advanced alien technology that, you know, was it
lasers?
Was it Velcro? Was it duct tape? Was it fiber optics? Was it laser? Anything I just named. The SR-71, the B, is the provenance can be traced back to industry.
Yeah.
There was a guy by the name of Philip Corso who wrote a book called The Day After Roswell. If you take it as fiction, it's an entertaining book. But apparently he was assigned by some general in the Pentagon to take samples of alien technology and quietly, discreetly distribute them to industry. You know, like Lockheed and McDonnell Douglas, and all the high-tech, Bell Labs. So much.
All the
it's
military
amazing how much stuff
industrial
has come out of Bell Labs from the transistor on. If there's alien technologies, go to Bell Labs. But if we have all this advanced alien technology, why are we still using the internal combustion engine? Why are we still using chemical rockets to put stuff into orbit? You know, where's the George Jetson stuff?
People would argue that it's big oil keeping us using that stuff and not these other companies. However, I would have to, you know, disagree with that argument.
Anyway, Dr. B and I were watching a show recently because we have nothing but time on our hands to watch way too much television. But it was a UFO show, and they're saying that Kelly Johnson, again for the handful of adults in our audience, he worked in a subdivision of Lockheed aircraft, which was nicknamed Skunk Works. And Lockheed was building conventional stuff like P-38 fighters and C-121 transport planes, but then there was the really outside the envelope stuff like the U-2 spy plane and the SR-71, but they needed a place to test that stuff. So in the mid-1950s, he hopped in a little plane with a buddy of his and flew over around there was this abandoned Army test range, Army Air Force, left over from World War II, that they were not using anymore, and they said, this is perfect. There was nothing there but a runway and a couple of the old, what do they call them, Quonset huts thing, military style things. So Lockheed moved in that, and they had a contract with the Air Force, so it was developed by Groom Lake in Lockheed with the Air Force, so they could build the U-2 spy plane and test it where nobody could see it. That was in the mid-1950s, and the U-2 was, they brought that in on time, actually ahead of time and under budget, which rarely happens in Pentagon spending. President Eisenhower was impressed. Then supposedly Kelly Johnson got the idea for the SR-71 by seeing a flying saucer. The SR-71 was at least, I'll admit, a generation of anything we had flying at that time. It was a Buck Rogers plane that somehow ended up in 1961. It had stealth technology. It set altitude and speed records. Which, the only thing that could do better was the X-15, which I think was built by North America, not with alien technology. So any of this stuff that came out, and by the way, if we had captured flying saucers, Area 51 is the last place I would test them because that's the first place everyone's going to look. Try Hackensack, New Jersey.
And like we know with Area 51, they didn't bring the Roswell UFO there anyway.
There was no Area 51 back then.
There was no Area 51, so at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base where the true aliens are kept in lockdown. Oh, pause for...
As a matter of fact, that's part. They have the Air Force Museum at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, and you can see the alien bodies there. I saw that on the internet too.
And if you ever visit that, which you can do, please take pictures.
A friend of mine, a real friend, not a Facebook friend, went up there about a year ago. He's an old car collector. Drives old Corvairs from the 60s, and went up there for this huge car show. Took a tour of the Air Force Museum, and I said, "Oh, did you take any pictures?" He said, "No." He's posting all these pictures of 1960s Corvairs online. I said, "You went to the Air Force Museum and didn't take one picture of any plane from World War II, the 50s, the 60s?" Well, no, but it was really cool. But I digress. Well, no, what? Okay, so we've shot down, no pun intended. We got where the U-2 and the SR-71 came from. Later, the B-2, which was not Lockheed, and that's where they're testing the drones out there now too. Is Area 51. Military technology. As a matter of fact, the internet came from the military, and that is an example of the military actually seeding their technology for the public. Like they would have these classified, highly classified spy satellites, and a few years would go by, the technology would improve, so they would take the other technology and pretty much give it to NASA and industry. That is true. Didn't come from aliens. The same with the internet. That was created to maintain, after World War III and the nuclear war, they wanted a secure way for whoever's still alive, namely the Pentagon and the White House, to communicate, a secure line. And eventually, as the years went by, they said, we don't really have to keep all this classified, so they sent out the rudiments of the internet. It's DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, and that's where we got the internet from.
That's also where we got GPS tracking from.
Yes,
and
another
our mapping programs.
Very good example. And ground penetrating radar.
Yeah. We had that technology in the military, using it constantly before it was ever given out to the general population. And usually what happens is, like you said, they become so far advanced in what they're developing, they're like, oh, this won't be nothing if we give it out. Those people that have been alive since the beginning of GPS tracking will probably remember that when it first started, you could be within 100 meters of being off on your tracking. So you may think you're over here, but really it could have you up to 300 meters away. And that was so that civilian version could not be used for targeting purposes by some terrorist group or for some other enemy of the United States. As military GPS got even better and better in our field, they didn't care what happened with the general population's GPS tracking, which of course now is pinpoint accuracy. So it makes you wonder, what do they actually always have out there? And I'm glad we kind of talked about that, because I have thrown out a theory out there about the Tic Tacs, that they are our drones, that they're our most advanced, latest technology. And that's why the Navy has allowed the videos to leak out, and now has officially come out and said, oh, we're officially letting them out there. I don't think that the Navy pilots are all going to know and understand what technology is being used. I've seen some history of drone manufacturing, and it's interesting that way back, even in the 40s and 50s, the drone technology that they were using, there was, even the Nazis had used drones. If you want to tell a little bit about the Nazi drone.
All I can say is in World War II, our idea of a drone was to take a used worn-up B-17 bomber, put a couple of pilots on it, load it with TNT, fly as close to the target as you can, and there would be a plane next to it with the radio controls. The pilots and co-pilot would bail out, and they would fly the rest of it in on a radio beam. That's how one of the Kennedy brothers got killed. The Germans had it down as early as 1943. They had a remote control bomb that almost sank a Navy heavy cruiser off the coast when we were invading Italy. Of course, the Germans were ahead of the curve.
Always ahead of the curve.
Because of their alien technology.
Yeah. If they got the alien technology, it didn't help them too much now, did it?
No. Yeah, how come they didn't win the war?
Or did they?
Or did they?
Dun, dun, dun.
Hitler's alive and well, living in the Antarctic.
Flying
in
a
the vast underground base.
Flying a modified stratofortress, spilling chemtrails out. Yeah, in the Antarctic.
By the way, as we tape this, now this Tic Tac UFO gun camera footage has been out there for what, a year now, publicly?
Yeah.
As we tape this, just a day or two ago, the Pentagon, all they did was officially acknowledge was, yep, those are unidentified.
Yeah.
They're not speculating as to what they did. Okay, you got us there, they're unidentified. There is a theory, as Dr. V says, that they could be the latest state-of-the-art drones that are so maneuverable. It's like, well, you don't have to worry about these high G, jet fighter pilots and astronauts. They wear pressure suits because of the high Gs. It's like, well, a pilot takes up a lot of room. We can build this like maybe a quarter the size of an F-16. Don't have to worry about Gs and pressure suits, so they can unleash their technology. Let these go. That kind of makes sense when you stop to think about it.
I propose that the technology of flight has gotten so advanced that it's beyond the capabilities of a human.
They say
human body.
The UFOs, the flying saucers, do maneuvers that violate the laws of physics. No, they do not. They violate the laws of anything a fighter pilot in an F-16 could do without blacking out.
Yeah. One of the other reasons that I've come up with this theory is because of the swarm of them operating in unison in that. And we have come out with an AI swarm, I guess technology, for lack of a word, or programming that we have been using in drones, say, for over 20 years. So if we started 20 years ago with that swarm mentality, sort of advanced artificial intelligence being adapted into drones, just think how advanced it is now, when usually our experiments are sometimes close to 50 years ahead of what we even have in the main military organizations. DARPA is way far advanced, more so than a lot of people
If you
understand.
go out and buy a brand
Skunk Works is
new
still around.
car today with all the bells and whistles and those fantastic state-of-the-art, you can be sure whatever the military has in development or on the draw or testing is probably a dozen years ahead of that, at least.
Oh, at least. I'm always going with about 50 years. And I mean, the massive quantum computer processing that's happening now in the public eye, the computer systems that they're coming out that are, beating the human mind or developing and having, almost conversations and stuff with people now. Just think, again, what does the military have, with their black budget possibilities? And, they're very compartmentalized. So, yeah, a lot of people are not going to know about it because this section, even within Lockheed Martin, you have this section working on a particular nut and bolt, this section working on a particular fly-by-wire or something, and this section working on a piece of an engine, and they don't even know what the overall project is going to be at the end.
Earlier I used the word provenance, which is a very fancy way of saying, well, where did this come from? What's the nature of it? Drones are a good example. I know we're running a little short on time here, but it was the Israelis that started doing the early research into drones. Just a shoestring budget, but they were making a lot of progress. And then they approached the Air Force. Our Air Force was not interested in it, but then some guy in California was working on a parallel track with the idea of drones, not to fire a weapon as they do now, just something that could stay airborne for like 24 hours, really advanced cameras, unmanned. And that kind of dovetailed because the Israeli guy moved over here, became an American citizen, brought his family with him, got a job with it might have been Lockheed Martin out in California, and suddenly that got the Pentagon's attention, realized this is very cost effective compared to F-22s and F-15s.
Yeah.
It was almost like garage. These guys are working out of the garages, coming up with not so much cutting edge technology, but practical stuff that could be easily built. But the Air Force is, they're into their fighter pilots. We don't need unmanned stuff. And it was the Navy, believe it or not, that actually expressed a very early interest in launching drones from their aircraft carriers.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier to do that. Again, you don't have the human factor. And I think the way wars are being fought now, especially, the last couple of Desert Storm type wars, where we used a lot of drones, somebody piloting, from Nevada or something like that, or Arizona, or however, a drone that's across the world, and using that for attacking. It separates the human component from it, which can sometimes be a little scary. But being able to take a swarm of them, give them an advanced battlefield programming to where they either go out and map the battlefield and plot all the enemy locations and feed that information back to the jet fighters. That's one of the uses that they're talking about, where they can work in unison with fighter craft. So their purpose may not be, for taking down something, but we've learned what's going on in Yemen and Saudi Arabia, and that where drones are being used to attack oil platforms and possibly even freighters and that you know, you could even take a drone and just the way these ones are flying, the speed that they're going at, you could just have that ram into something and probably destroy
And then
it.
there's the next generation
But it has
drones
some
that's probably
explosives.
being tested out in Area 51, which we won't know anything about for probably another 10 years. So if these drones were actually alien technology, reverse engineered, when they have a cloaking device and fire photon torpedoes, I'll believe it's from alien technology.
Yeah, so and does that lead us then to have to reassess a lot of the former sightings, you know, going back the last 50 years? You know, it is possible that you know, you have to reassess, okay, what were people seeing back then? You know, does seeing something that looks like a crescent shape resemble a flying wing that we have now? I mean, there's a possibility of it, but again, that's why it all comes down to unidentified.
Well, remember, 90% of UFO sightings can be explained.
Yeah. And so, you know, even if we probably took and said, okay, we can explain even another 1% by saying it was advanced drone technology throughout the ages, however advanced that part of society was, you still can't account for some more of them. You know, still more of them you can't account for. Pausing for editing.
Okay, well, we see the guys coming from Homeland Security.
Yeah.
They are men in black. One's wearing a gray suit, the other's wearing a blue suit. Yeah, they got the sunglasses. But we know those guys. Those guys, you know, we're just hey.
Those guys.
Yeah.
Them guys.
You know, somehow they discovered our secure, undisclosed location.
Yeah. Probably because with their advanced technology, they're listening in on our phones. Dum, 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 dum.
And if they're watching us, they're watching you.
Boy, we've been in
I'm always
lockdown
wanting
too
to
long.
say that. Yeah, dude.
Way too long.
Let me out. Oh God, I can't take it anymore.
And wait, we forgot our closing line. Come on back in. We got to at least close it like we used to.
I have my emotional support beverage.
Yeah, emotional support beverage. ESB.
All right, take us
All
out,
right.
Dr. V. Take us out.
We got to end this because we're really just probably tired and moody and everything.
And it's happy hour.
And it's gonna be happy hour again one of these days, folks. Hang in there. You know, we're gonna be putting out there some UFO watch parties. You know, maybe if we get stuck inside a little bit longer, where everybody would go outside and look up to the skies, because that's what we always say.
Or if we lose our lease, then we'll be stuck outside. Then we can do an outdoor UFO watch party.
That's right. With your support beverage and your clothes on. So remember, stop looking down at your phones and start looking up to the skies. That's going to be a hard habit to break now, isn't it? After we've all been inside like for 40 days and 40 nights.
You all come back now, yeah?
40 days in quarantine and 40 nights.
Been there, done that.
Yeah. Yes. Maybe Noah's Ark was a UFO.